Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and there's been a hot topic amongst Hearthstone players and Twitter all over the place about aggro weapon rogue, and as you can see in the title, I don't think it's particularly good for the game, and I'll get into it. So let's first start off with just what's aggro weapon rogue. If you're not playing Hearthstone right now or haven't been playing ladder, what's the deck? So here's the deck list. It's over here. And it's basically built around self-sharpening sword, a bunch of weapon buffs. You have stealth minions to buff you, to like draw your cards and also push face damage. You have pin flingers that can just push an insane amount of damage throughout the game. And then you have a multitude of draw cards and secret passage, swindle, cutting class, Greyheart Sage. And the deck has one objective and one objective only. Well, I guess two. First is to make a big weapon, go face, and then the second is to draw cards so that you can point and click and push face damage. The deck does not fight for board whatsoever. Its only minions are stealth for the purpose of not being able to be interacted with, or drawing cards through Greyheart Sage, or pin flingers that go face. This deck, even though there's insane weapon cards in the game, like Steel Dancer, Dread Corsair, like a 0-mana taunt, Dr. Krasnov, or just Janice Barov, which is one of the most broken minions in the game right now, not even in the list, because it's too slow, it doesn't go face, you don't care about the board. So the big problem that people have with this deck is that it's very toxic. It's non-interactive. It does not give a damn about the board. It just goes face, and it has an absurd amount of card draw to the point where it can be fatiguing by turns like 7, 8, 9. And for an aggro deck, that's just not a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. The only thing we've seen like this is Discard Warlock in Wild, but that's a Wild deck where they don't really manage it like that. But even that deck is more interactive, because it fights for board. It's a board-based deck, and you can play around that. But this deck, it's got stealth minions, unless you're running like Wild Pyro or Consecration, very slow cards. I guess a Mad Bomber, you're not going to be able to interact with them, and they're just going to go face. They're not going to trade, and that's just a very frustrating experience, to the point where we've seen pro players like Jombre very heated in this tweet, saying just delete the deck already, in more of my stream type of tone. We've had Orange say it's one of his least favorite decks he's ever faced. Papa Jason, he's a former GM, says this deck is the reason he doesn't play Hearthstone that much these days, and I see a lot of comments on it that it's a disgusting, degenerate deck, and it's just really, really unfun to face. So there was this big debate because Jay Alexander, the guy who only plays Rogue, defended the deck with this tweet saying that, did you do anything to stop them from doing that, as an answer to this deck, like develop tempo while removing theirs. So let's review a game I had on stream, literally I don't know, half an hour after I read this tweet, and was just like, what? He got a lot of flack over it. Let's review this game and show what it's like facing weapon rogue. And there's some high rolling in here, but overall this is not an outlier. Jombre highlighted a game like this. I've had plenty of games before where this has happened, but let's get into it. So here we are. We're against a weapon rogue. Turn 1, got a 1-drop. He's got a 3/1 stealth. Goes face, ignores the minion, just hits with the weapon. I buff up my minion. It's a 3/5. He develops Greyheart Sage, goes face, hits me in the face. So I've got board, I've established, I'm removing everything, I'm pushing tempo. Actually, pretty good tempo here. I've got a 3/5. I go full on, like Abusive Broomstick, remove his minion, have a full board, turn 3. Pushing tempo. He equips a weapon, goes face. Doesn't interact with the board whatsoever. I, again, go max tempo here, draw, push as much damage as possible, and again, just pushing damage. Already got him down to 15 on turn 4. He has not fought for board once. He buffs his weapon, draws 2 cards for 0 mana, 2 more cards for 2 mana, plays a stealth minion, Sinister Strikes, which only goes face, and then hits me in the face. I then push a bunch more damage, develop a 4/5 taunt for dirt cheap, because this deck abuses that. I even pin flinger out. I throw it out there because I know I just have to push face. And here we go. He draws 1 mana, 4 cards on 2 mana left. Removes my taunt. Draws 2 more cards for 0 mana. He's got 1 mana left. He plays Secret Passage, drawing 4 more cards. He then preps Swindle to draw 2 more cards, and then preps Eviscerate to kill me on turn 6 with only 3 cards left in his entire deck. So the argument we got from this rogue main was, did you do anything to stop them from doing that? Like to develop tempo while removing theirs. I did more than that. He never held the board. I had full aggression on the board. I played taunts, but because my opponent can literally draw his deck for free, it's basically an OTK deck. His deck becomes a combo deck. He just gets the combo of building a weapon that infinitely scales. By the way, didn't even break it. I think there was still one durability left, and kills me 30 damage without ever interacting with my board, without ever developing a taunt or anything like that. Just a couple of stealth minions that go face that I cannot interact with, and then South Sea deckhands, which are charge minions, which I can't interact with. And do we need to go back to the Leroy Jenkins pasta? This Leroy Jenkins statement was by Blizzard in regards to the nerf about it, and it's about Leroy Jenkins creating a strategy that revolved around trying to defeat your opponent in one turn without requiring any cards on the board. Fighting for board control and battles between minions makes Hearthstone an overall more fun game and compelling, but taking 20 damage in one turn is not particularly fun or interactive. I mean, what was that game? That's effectively that. Again, the board didn't matter. It's a very frustrating thing. So the way to actually beat this deck is to either race it, play an equally aggressive aggro deck, race it. Try and break the mana curve with a Token Druid or Gibberling Druid. Do a bunch of Lightning Bloom stuff and then Savage Roar. Or if you generate enough taunts and healing before they can really get going, you can get there, or run bad tech cards and ooze. The deck is very beatable. If you look at Vicious Syndicate here, it's something like tier 2. On H's Replay, it's tier 1. But regardless, it's not like an oppressive deck. That's not the argument, though. I keep hearing this. Well, the deck is beatable. Just get good, you know? The deck is beatable. That's not the point of the deck. The deck, we've seen other decks prior to this, like Turtle Mage. Turtle Mage got nerfed. It wasn't tier 1. It wasn't oppressive. But the feeling it makes in the game is awful. You feel like you're not playing, you can't do anything, you're not playing against somebody who's actually interacting with you. It's like, what's the point of playing this card game if I'm literally not really playing against someone, if they're just going face, or they're infinitely chaining a turtle, or some of these OTK decks like Mizaki Mage that can kill you from in hand on turn 6 and 7. That's problematic as well, and an issue we could talk about. But in regards to Weapon Rogue, it's got that feeling where it's just the most unfun experience. Win or lose, it's not enjoyable. You either survive their onslaught, they whiffed on their card draw or their weapon, and you're just relieved the game is over and you won, or you're pissed off because your opponent did what they did to me and kill you from in hand with an absurd amount of card draw that shouldn't exist. And don't get me wrong, this isn't like a screw aggro video. Aggro decks are important. They're good for the game. They need to be there. They keep greed in check. They do a lot of good stuff in that regard. You need that proper balance, but this isn't beyond aggro. This is just pure face interaction. Like, you have aggro decks like Zoo, Token Druid, you have Totem Shaman, all these other aggro decks that can do stuff. Those are fine. They fight for board. They require a board setup, and for the most part are interactive outside of some of the Token Druid stuff with Lightning Bloom, where you can't possibly react to their turns. That's why Innervate got nerfed in the first place. But again, we'll talk about that maybe another time. But yes, those decks are built around fighting for the board, and that's the thing I'm trying to get to. Even Spell Damage Mage, right? It has a bunch of Burn, Fireball, Frostbolt, but for the most part, the deck still requires board presence. It still wants to fight with their Spell Damage minions, Apprentice, other stuff like that. Hell, it runs Jandis Barov, Raz, Frostwhisper. It fights for board, and Weapon Rogue doesn't do that. And that is why it creates such a frustrating experience where, again, if you win, it's a relief, but doesn't feel great. And if you lose, it's frustrating. So how do you address this issue and get it to a state where this deck is actually about building a weapon and then using the weapon based, stuff to alleviate that? I think Self-Sharpening Sword in itself, with cards like Nitro Boost in the game now, Deadly Poison, is just too good. It's got too much durability. I'd love to see that card scaled back. The Geminator, he's a friend of mine. He's a rogue main. He's compared to Tunnel Trog, it's effectively a Tunnel Trog as a weapon. We all know what a good Tunnel Trog was, except Tunnel Trog required you to actually, overload. This card, it requires you to attack, not really a hard requirement for it to be buffed. So I don't know if it become more expensive, like Poison Blade. Again, that compared to that, right? Hero Power, ridiculously harder to do. And obviously it was a terrible card, but it just seems like Self-Sharpening Sword, Nitro Boost, and of course Secret Passage is of course the most broken card in the game right now. It used to draw 5, by the way, and even at 4 it's ridiculous. At 3 it would probably be ridiculous. It just feels like this card was just a mistake, a complete mistake in the game. It needs to get overhauled, whether it be 2 mana, 3, 2 cards, something needs to change, because most of these cards going in the next standard rotation are not rotating. They could lose like Deckhand, Sinister Strike, Deadly Poison, Prep, those kind of cards, they could be going. But even in like a demonstration video of like the new expansion, we saw Sinister Strike and Deadly Poison pop up there, so it's not like it's going to lose much. And I just feel like this deck is just creates such an unfun experience. So many people seem to absolutely loathe it, that something should be done. And it just should, a deck this absurdly toxic and face heavy, and it doesn't interact whatsoever with the board, just shouldn't exist at a high level, in my opinion, and a lot of others. But again, let me know in the comments below, do you think this deck is unhealthy for the game? Should it get nerfed? Is it frustrating you? Or do you think it's fine? We're all crying about losing to the aggro deck and should just, you know, generate tempo while removing their threats, like somebody said. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And I hope that, you know, before the next expansion comes out, that there's like another balance patch where maybe a deck like this gets addressed, maybe like Mizaki Mage or Lifesteal Demon Hunter get addressed, just so that going forward we can get away from some of this uninteractivity. But again, that could be a video for another day. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.